Sushi Gum's YouTube channel. Okay, so it's been almost 2 weeks since I've had my grubby little mitts on the Nintendo Switch 2, and before I explain my most undefined, original, and only opinion you should be listening to, I think it's important to understand where my opinions really come from, my credentials if you will, and if you don't really care about my opinion, then I left a chapter just so you know when my review actually starts. The reason why I want to explain my opinion is because I feel like you should know my experiences and history with the Nintendo company, because if I'm being honest, a lot of reviewers right now are kind of misleading because a lot of them are, you know, Nintendo Glazers. I just watched a video of a guy talking about how he likes Nintendo World Tour and how it's actually fun. Mind you, it's just a tech demo that you have to pay for. Regardless, let me explain myself. I don't have nostalgia over Nintendo games. I've never played Mario Galaxy or Ocarina of Time. I don't really care about those franchises. Neither have I ever owned a GameCube or a Wii, none of that. Now, before you light your pitchforks and all that stuff, I want you to understand that I don't hate these products, which leads me to one of the reasons why I've never actually played Mario Odyssey or Breath of the Wild, is because I actually hate the Switch 1. Now, although I never owned the old consoles, I did own for a very short period of time a Switch Lite. I got it on the same day Pokemon Scarlet and Violet released. Seeing that it was an actual first open world Pokemon game got me really excited. And on top of that, I also got a few more other games. But after only playing it for like a week, a month passed by without me even touching the Switch, I don't have a use for this. I never even finished the games I had. A combination of graphics and frame rates and the really uncomfortable design of the system, I just couldn't see any reason why to keep this thing, so I ended up selling it with all its games. So why did I get the Switch 2? And will I end up selling it in a few weeks? I don't think so. Let's start off with one of its main selling points, the 120Hz screen. On paper, this sounds really amazing. Honestly, a big dub for Nintendo. And as for the sheep I am, it's one of the main reasons I got the Switch 2. But guess what? We low-key got baited, sort of. If you are planning on getting the Switch 2 because of its 120Hz screen, it's not worth it. For the main reason, this is how many games actually support the 120Hz screen. Well, technically 0.01. Right now, as of recording this video, the only game that supports 120 FPS is a mini game in Nintendo World Tour, which is actually really disappointing. Now, does this mean we aren't ever going to get a game that supports 120 FPS? No, I don't think so. I mean, look at Metroid Prime. That's apparently going to be 120 FPS, but hasn't released yet. So there's no real point on getting it because there's no games for it yet. Also, let me talk about the size of the screen. Now, this one is an interesting opinion to me because although I really like the 7.9-inch screen, I kind of don't really care for it. Again, I used to have a Switch Lite, which was a 5.5 screen. That was fine for me, I guess, in a way, sort of, not really. And the new screen supporting HDR and 1080p resolution, it has a lot of green flags, so why would I not care for it? The problem is, it makes the Switch really big, and I'm pretty sure what Nintendo is going to end up doing is they're going to release an OLED 2, which would have a bigger screen, but also the same size as the original Switch 2, which again bothers me because they could have had a 7.9 screen but a smaller form factor, because although having a bigger console or a bigger screen or whatever, it kind of loses its main selling point of it being a portable console. Like, ever since I got the Switch, I've been trying to take it everywhere with me, and I had to get a case for it. It's just super impractical because I don't want to use a bag for it because that just looks goofy if I'm just going to like McDonald's or something. But again, if that doesn't bother you, I guess it's not a huge deal breaker. And also why you may not want to buy the Switch 2, at least right now. The game Nintendo launched with was only one first party title. And the first party title that they decided to go with was Mario Kart World. First, let's get this out of the way. Mario Kart World is not worth $80. Don't get me wrong, it's really fun, but unless you're a die-hard fan of Mario Kart, you should not be using this as a reason to get the new Switch. And if you really want Mario Kart, at least try to get it with the bundle, because again, it is not worth $80. Games like, for example, Monster Hunter Wilds, that came out with a price point of $70 and not only has like 3 times the amount of content that Mario Kart has, it also will get free updates free DLCs through its lifespan. Now, if a company like Capcom can give free DLCs and still make a profit, other companies like Nintendo can obviously do the same thing. But, you know, like always, knowing Nintendo, they're probably going to charge you a $20 DLC pack, probably even more now, and make you think you're getting your money's worth, when in reality, you're not. If you want me to be honest, I love my Switch 2. What I've been saying is a little bit negative, but if I'm going to be completely honest, I haven't been able to put down my Switch 2 at all this entire 2 weeks. And let me explain to you why. Like I said earlier in the video, I never played any Nintendo game, so I never got to experience Mario Odyssey or Breath of the Wild or Pokemon Smash, blah blah, you name it, whatever. And on top of the Switch 2's hardware being significantly better than the Switch 1, every game now is actually playable. For example, back then with Mario Odyssey, if you wanted to play on handheld mode, you would have to sacrifice a lot of its graphics and resolution and all of that just to play it on handheld mode. When now with the Switch 2, you can play it on dock with way higher resolution, stable 60 FPS, and almost the exact same thing with handheld mode. And same thing goes for Breath of the Wild. Every game is actually playable now without frame drops or loss of resolution. But here's the thing, if you got excited for me saying all of that about the Switch 2, chances are you probably already own the original Switch, which means you probably already played Mario Odyssey, or Breath of the Wild, or Pokemon, or Smash, and all of that, which also means you've probably gotten used to its very low resolution, its unstable FPS, and really ass graphics on handheld mode. So why would you spend $500 on an upgrade just so you can play the same games? I don't think it's worth it. Not at all. Yeah, it's shinier, it's newer, it has better hardware, but there's nothing in the market as of right now to utilize that power, at least not for new titles. So again, if you're planning on upgrading because of this, probably wait off a little bit. On top of that, another one that they really emphasize that it's going to be a big thing, it's its mouse mode. Again, this is just one of those things Nintendo kind of just threw in just to make people talk about it more. If I'm being honest, I kind of see the mouse mode as that IR camera that the Switch 1 had. They use that as a selling point, but I'm pretty sure only like 2-3 games actually use that, and no one plays those games. And to back up my point even further, the mouse mode kind of sucks. It's super uncomfortable to hold, and you kind of are going to end up getting cramps like every 20 minutes because of it's not being really ergonomical. Plus, the way it functions, it kind of doesn't work as an actual mouse. It still works as a Joy-Con, just with like the sensor or whatever. Unless they make a third-party like adapter or a grip to use the mouse mode, I don't really see a reason to get the Switch 2. And just like the 120Hz screen, there's not really any games that support the mouse mode besides I think Fortnite. But again, I could just not be super used to the controls, so I guess this isn't a huge deal breaker, but whatever, moving on. So to recap, everything about the Switch 2, although it seems like it's a really good upgrade, which it is, there's no point for it because there's nothing for it. It's like buying a brand new car, but you don't have your license for it. So the only thing you can do is just look at it and just let it rot in the garage. So in my words, save your money, be smart, and I'll see you guys later.